Welcome back. My name is Minovate, and this is Shifted Reality on the Real SMP server. What are we getting up to today? Well, let's just say I got to finally get around to completing a promise of working on a bridge. It's time. We have the slime farm, we have the materials. Let's get working on it. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about this because I'm not particularly good at Redstone. I'm trying to get better, but I still fail at many basic things. And so none of this is really my design. The core aspect of what we are going to be doing is off of a tutorial, which will be linked in the description down below. And whilst I did modify it significantly because the tutorial says that the bridge that they designed cannot go more than 10. Obviously, I need much more than 10 to cross this river. And so I did modify it in order to achieve a greater than 10, even though he said it could only be used for 10. I don't really feel like I modified it enough to claim it as an original design. So we are still going to leave credit for the original creator, which is Tomco, and we use his tutorial. And I put out two locations where I kind of considered about maybe putting it. Both are going to need to have this kind of centralized location. You can see down there where that bed is, the lower centralized location for that one. And both are going to need a little bit of terraforming. And I started off with whatever the elevation was on this side, because this is the higher side of the river. And after reviewing my options, I decided I'm going to put the bridge here, but my base starting point, I'm actually going to lower it down by 4 or 5 blocks, because there is a bit of a build up from this level up to what we need. And this is just mainly to guide me to make sure I place everything in the correct location. And I decided not to go with this one because it would be significant of investment to put in a structure to support the other sides, as well as the terraforming to bring this cave entrance out further to support the bridge where it doesn't really need to worry about doing what we need it to do. There just seemed to be less of that terraforming effort on the farther side. So as we're a little bit close to where I would like it, things are a little bit tighter. I think it's still going to work out, and this is going to function for the best, I believe. So let's get started on getting this started. Now, I had the two bridges laid out as their footprint on this part and over here, mainly because I wasn't sure if it would fit over here, but also I wanted to not make the same mistake I made in Season 1, where I made that really long bridge. I was just in the wrong spot. But I am going to use this location, but because I do have to build up from this is just my ground floor template, I am going to go ahead and utilize this and bring it down a little bit for the purposes of making sure that everything fits and lines up, and we don't have to do any kind of huge amounts of terraforming in order to get up there. Because, I mean, right now, I would have to build up to right here, but then if you add on the layers for the contraption, then I'd be building up even higher, and that's just not a good thing and not something we want to do. So we're just going to avoid that and bring this footprint down to this level. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to go into the redstone with too much detail here, since this is a design by a tutorial put out by Tomco, and I didn't make enough of a difference, or I didn't edit enough of it to say it's original. It's just, more or less what it is. But I thought I would point this out. I was just about ready to give it its first test flight to make sure everything was working correctly when I noticed a problem. You see, right here, the obsidian backstopper is directly over my marker for the build of where I was laying this all out. But then I noticed on my final walkthrough of checking to see everything was correct. Over here, it's off by 1. Even up here, when I was putting down the ground, I had 2 extra stone bricks left that, weren't used. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Why isn't this working right? And, well, it turns out this section right here is supposed to be 3 slime blocks long, and it's only 2. I don't know how much that's going to screw it up, other than it is just simply wrong. And so now I gotta fix that. So in short, before I can test this, I gotta tear off this entire back half of it and try and figure out exactly what I missed and rebuild it just in this last half, and then we're out for our test flight. Okay, I think I have it all fixed, and now for the nerve-wracking test. If I push this button, it should cause that end and this end to close onto each other and meet in the middle. If it doesn't do that, then I made a major mistake somewhere. Well, great. Either side works. Everything's firing correctly. Oh. Derp. I need to remove the obsidian that's keeping it in place. Oh, that makes me feel a little better. Okay. Alright, now that the obsidian that is there to keep it from an accidental early firing is out of the way, let's try this again. It's working. It's working. Wait. What happened over there? Where did that side move? Alright, so this side worked, but the far side did not move at all. Huh. Okay, let's try recalling this. Alright, well, the recall worked just fine. So I'm going to put that back there to keep it in place. Oh, you... Okay, that works. Hey, why is it not firing on that side? I don't know why it's not firing on the far side. I gotta go back and look at my test world. Alright, so I figured out the problem. I accidentally left the rail on the underneath that minecart. So when the piston pushed up the rail, it broke the string instead of activating the tripwire. So now that we have that fixed, we hit the button. Cross safely to the other side. And we can hit the button to retract it. Now all that said, we still have the issue. We ultimately are going to have the little spot in the middle where the two connect to make it easy to walk across. But we are going to get a little decorative in that. And now for my next aspect, I have a hopper clock down there and a hopper clock here, where if I activate this, you can see that hopper clock will be sending out a positive signal for just long enough that the bridge will either fully retract or fully extend. And because I am planning to put in a little visual animation to kind of let you know that it is in process and hopefully create a little bit of the illusion that maybe this is all an interconnected system. Now that positive signal is meant to power some sort of animation such as this. Now this is based off of Rubik Potato's fan that was for Bedrock animation, but we just realized this is a odd width item and our bridge is an even width, so we're going to need to change this up a little bit more in order to try and get what we're going for. Okay, so the next thing I want to do, I am going to need some black concrete, so I came back to the shopping district to pick up some of that. But I don't really have much loose diamonds, so let's see what we have available in our stores, see if we sold anything lately. Yeah, no one ever buys fish. Oh, but this store was left open. Someone came by at least. Okay, no sales at the fish market. What about our arms and armor shop? There you go, a few. Looks like someone had to come by to replace their armor. That's good. Well, good for me. Gold leaf also ahead. New shop. Alright, this is cool. Cool. Welcome to Gold Leaf. 64 gold blocks for 1 diamond block. Or 64 gold blocks for 1 diamond. Yeah, no discount for max for bulk purchases, but that can be useful for later. Did we sell anything in our glowing shop though? There we go. Alright, 6 diamonds. How much is he charging for concrete? Oh, I see he enhanced the road to his shop. Mostly. Honestly, this should all be back by 1. Start the stairs here. And the trapdoor platform right... Ow. And the platform right in front of the door. And a little stair to get inside. But okay, so does he have black? I don't remember what all he had, but I really need black. Okay, so he has black concrete there. How much is the concrete? $2 diamonds a stack. Oof, I hope I don't need more than 1 stack. Alright, I have the diamonds. Or I have the concrete. Let's get back to our redstone building. Oh, why didn't you know it? I'm halfway through the building and I need more black concrete. So, 2 more diamonds for the concrete shop, I guess. And here's what we've been working on. A moving gear, or at least the illusion of a moving gear. This is based off Rubik's Potato's Bedrock fan design and kind of merged with some design elements from Mumble Jumbo's recent animation builds to kind of give the illusion. Now, we're going to connect this so that it will only be active while the bridge is extending or retracting. But to do that, we need to get rid of this platform, and, well, there's still a lot to work. Okay, now with that torch tower hooked up right there, this should all come together. So right now there's no motion. Click here. This starts retracting and the gear starts turning. Yeah, once it's fully turned. That was interesting. Let's check that again. Interesting, because you get the signal right when it shuts off. Or if it's just a timing thing. We're really just playing with this timing by ear. It's like 1/8 of a second for each piece, so there you go. That's perfect. Bridge ascends, starts moving. And stops when the bridge is fully extended. There we go. Now we just need to hook up this side and do the same thing. We're getting there. And at the end of the day, I have to say it is quite remarkable that everything is working as planned. It's coming along quite nicely. You know, as much as I like this, I can't help but feel it needs just a little something extra. And I'm thinking that something why is this off? Okay, well, I can fix that later. But anyway, I feel like that something extra is the fact that gears or wheels don't turn on their own. They work on other interconnected ones. So I think I need one more thing to really sell the animation of the whole system moving. To really just bring it home. And we're going to do that with a piston feed tape, I think. We can probably power it right off of that. Well, actually, I was a little bit delayed because of that. Anyway, I think I can still power it off that redstone lamp right there. Now, I don't know who actually invented the piston feed tape. It's been around and kind of ubiquitous for a while, so I don't really have anybody to credit for that one. But what we have here ultimately is Tomco's design that used a minecart to send a signal down to trigger the bridge to come back. Well, the trigger to come back is just the same here as it is there. And so rather than just extending it to a halfway point and having the minecart here to send it back, well, what I did is I just simply extended it all the way down to the opposite side to bring back this one. Now, originally I had it connecting underneath to both sides so that it would trigger in either way, but sometimes I created a loop of the signal going around and kept sending it off and breaking things. So that's why currently this one only goes down to here and it stops once it activates that side. Which means if this one gets activated, without that signal, there's nothing that sends it back to that one to extend that or retract that bridge. So that's why our bridge just gets out of sync sometimes. God dang it, how did I get a clock in here? Yeah, I don't know why sometimes I get a clock in here instead of a countdown, but that's something I'll maybe need to work on if it keeps happening. But what we have here is this one is just going to this button is just going to trigger this minecart to pop up, which sends the signal down, but does connect to that way. That sends the signal back, but then it breaks, so we don't get that infinite loop. It just means that if only this side triggers and not that side, then only a singular side of it will go through. And I probably got that clock because I accidentally triggered it twice in a row when I jumped down on it, so should all work out well. There we go, we have the wheel going around, we have our piston feed tape bringing these things up and down, which this will tie in and look a little better once we get the decoration in. And we can cross, close it off, and you can see the same thing is happening over on the other side. And of course, one of the reasons why the piston feed tape is on opposite sides from here versus over there is because I couldn't actually get a piston feed tape to fit on top of the trigger mechanism over there without it constantly triggering it. So lots of things to pack into a small space for someone who really doesn't know how to pack things into a small space. Well, thank you for coming along on today's journey as I try and figure out all this redstone. I know I did use some tutorials, all of which will be linked down below, but thank you very much for helping out other people who just don't get as much as you do. And I am literally filming this outro when the episode's supposed to be going up on live. So if you watched this far, I apologize. The episode's a little bit late today, but do come back next week as we will be decorating this and making it look really good and all integrated with the rest of our base. Have a good one, everybody. Bye, everyone. See you next week on a new episode of Shifted Reality. Oh, and like and subscribe if you watched this far. I really appreciate it.